Shalom, Israel. Shalom. Welcome back to another adventure throughout the Most High's book. And yes, I'm talking to you. You scattered, you broken, displaced, and dispossessed Negroes across every corner of this God-forsaken earth. Before we dive into Exodus 21 today, family, let me make something crystal goddamn clear. What you're about to hear isn't some watered down, feel good, prosperity, gospel bullshit that your pastors and your bishops out there will be speaking to you in your churches. This isn't your grandmother's Sunday morning service where the preacher tickles your ears and sends you home with a smile and an empty spirit. No, sir. No. What we're about to examine is the legal framework that the Most High gave to our ancestors at Mount Sinai. Laws that were designed specifically for us, the children of Israel. The Negro people scattered into every nation under heaven as a curse for disobedience. These aren't suggestions. These aren't metaphors. These are the judgments that governed our society when we're actually something in the world before we got our asses handed to us for rebellion. And I need every Negro reading this. I don't give a fuck if you're in Chicago, Lagos, London, Sao Paulo, Kingston, Atlanta, Johannesburg, Detroit, Paris, Port-au-Prince, Timbuktu. I don't give a fuck. I need you to understand that Exodus 21 is a mirror. A mirror of what, Pastor? It's showing you who the hell we were, who we are, and who we are going to be when Yahushua returns to restore this kingdom. The nations that enslaved you, they knew these were our laws. They read the same Bible, saw themselves in the role of Egypt, Babylon, and Rome, and said, fuck it, let's do it anyway. So buckle up, my people. It's going to be it's going to be detailed, and it's going to bruise your religious feelings. But if you are really about truth, then you'll hear me out. So let's get into Exodus 21. 1 through 2. Now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. If thou buy an Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve. And in the 7th, he shall go free for nothing. Right out the gate, Most High establishes something that destroys the foundation of European and Arab chattel slavery. Israelite servitude had an expiration date. Look at it, 6 years. Then you are free. Not 400 years, not generational curses, where your children are born into bondage. Not 3/5 of a human being bullshit. Not splitting up families and selling babies off the auction block. Not breeding us like cattle in Virginia, Jamaica, Brazil, and Haiti. 6 years and you walk. Compare that to what happened to us globally, family. During the transatlantic slave trade, our people was kidnapped from West Africa, as you know. Central Africa and Southeast Africa, packed into ships like sardines, and sold across Americas and Caribbean. This wasn't 6 years, family. This was centuries. The Arab slave trade from the 7th to the 20th century. While everyone focuses on the European slave trade, the Arab enslavement of black Africans lasted over 1,300 years. I repeat, 1,300. Over a millennia. Castrating our men so we couldn't reproduce, working us to death in salt mines and sugar plantations across North Africa and the Middle East. You had the Caribbean slavery in Jamaica, Barbados, Haiti. The mortality rate was so high they had to keep importing us because we were literally being worked to death. The average lifespan of an enslaved African in the Caribbean was 7 years after arrival. I repeat, 7 years. That was your expiration date. In Brazil, they received more enslaved Africans than any other nation. Nearly 5 million souls went over there. The conditions were so brutal that the population couldn't sustain itself, requiring constant replenishment from Africa. You hear that, family? They were shipping you out like fucking Amazon. Like it was the Amazon Prime. Just shipping you out. This one got defective. Here comes another shipment. You was not a human being to these people. You were a product. The spiritual lesson here, family, is this. The nation that enslaved us violated the laws of the Most High. They didn't follow his economic system. They created their own demonic version. When Israel returns to these judgments under Yahushua's reign, the whole world will see what justice actually looks like, family. In Leviticus 25, 43 or 39 to 43, it says, "And if thy brother that dwelleth by thee be waxen poor, and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bondservant, but as an hired servant, and as a sojourner he shall be with thee. And he shall serve thee unto the year of Jubilee." Skip down. "Ye shall not rule over one another with rigor." See that? Not with rigor. Tell that to the overseers with the whips. Tell that to the lynch mobs. Tell that to the Portuguese, the Spanish, British, French, Dutch, and American slaveholders who built their entire economies on our brutalized backs. Most High got something for them, family. It ain't gonna be pretty. Verses 3 through 4. "And if he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master have given him a wife, and she have borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself." Now this verse right here, it tripped people up. But let me break it down what's really happening here, family. If a Hebrew man came into servitude single, he leaves single. If he came in married, his wife leaves with him. But if the master gave him a wife during the servitude and they had children, the wife and kids stay with the master when the 6 years are up. Before you start screaming, "Oh my God, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. See, the Most High, he's unfair. That's not fair." Calm your emotional ass down. Understand the context, family. The master gave him the wife. She was likely already a servant in that household. The children born are born into that household's service. This isn't chattel slavery where people are property forever. This is an economic arrangement within the Israelite community with specific rules and time frames. This also speaks to the reality of our fractured families today. After slavery, we had mass incarceration in America. Since the 1970s, family, war on drugs, over 2.3 million black people are locked up in the prison industrial complex. Families are split apart. Kids grow up without fathers. Women are left to raise children alone. The 13th Amendment literally says slavery is legal as punishment for a crime. So they just criminalized our existence and locked us right back up. The average sentence, family, way more than 6 years. Look at the poverty-driven family separation globally, family. In South Africa, post-apartheid, economic inequality still forces family apart. In the UK, the Windrush generation was deported. If you don't know about that, go look it up. Separating families who'd been there for decades. Help build up these niggas over there after the war. Been there for 50 years, and now all of a sudden they're illegal. Get the fuck out of our country. After using and abusing them to help build their country back up, when they was done with them, they threw them back in the garbage. In France, African immigrants, they face family separation through restrictive visa policies, family. They do this shit on purpose. You got the child welfare systems. In America, Canada, Australia, in the UK, black children are disproportionately removed from their families and placed in foster care or adopted out, often to non-black families. So modern day family splitting, family, just with paperwork instead of auction blocks. What's the symbolism here? When we get back to the law, families gonna stay together. There are provisions, there are protections. Their structure. Right now, we're living in chaos because we abandoned the law. Ain't nobody following the Most High's law around here. These countries don't give a damn about the Most High's book. or a word. But when he come back, we're going right back to that standard. Malachi 4:6 says, and he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. Our families are cursed right now because we're not under the law. We're under the rulership of these other nations who don't give a damn about keeping our families intact, family. And that's what you need to know about those two verses. 5 and 6, and if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free. Then his master shall bring him into the judges. He shall also bring him to the door or into the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl. It's like a little earring. And he shall serve him forever. This is the bond servant clause, and it's profound as hell. How? Let's see. If a Hebrew servant chose to stay with his master because he loved him, loved the wife he was given, and loved his children, he could make a permanent commitment. They'd pierce his ear at the doorpost as a sign of his voluntary, lifelong service. The ear, family, represents hearing and obedience. The doorpost is significant because it's where the blood was applied during the Passover. So this is a covenant act, a willful submission, which destroys the narrative today that all servitude is evil. There's a difference between voluntary service, that's what the Irish did, and all the other nations who came over to America. Voluntarily, not forcibly like we did. They came over voluntarily because they wanted some work. So there's a difference between voluntary service and forced bondage as our people went through. What happened to us globally was not this. Nobody pierced our ears and asked if we wanted to stay. We were kidnapped, chained, branded, and brutalized. But here's the deeper application for 2025, family. How many of our people are willful servants to systems that don't give a damn about them? We spend $1.3 trillion annually in America alone as black people, but own almost nothing. We're servants to brands that don't employ us, don't invest in our communities, and don't respect us. Then you got the religious systems. How many of us are in churches that teach us to turn the other cheek, to our oppressors, to forgive and forget? 400 plus years of brutality to financially support pastors who live in mansions while we struggle. We voluntarily submitted to spiritual slavery, and we don't even know. You got the political parties too. We vote 90% for parties that give nothing in return. Then wonder why we're still at the bottom economically, educationally, and socially in every Western nation we in. We've got our ears pierced to the wrong masters, beloved. Romans 6 and 16, Paul says, know ye not that to whom ye yield yourselves servants to obey, his servants ye are to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death or of obedience unto righteousness. Who are you serving, family? Because right now, most of us are serving systems that are leading us to death, not life. Wake the fuck up. Verses 7 through 11 here, back in Exodus 21. And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the maids or the men servants do. If she please not her master, who has betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed. To sell her unto a strange nation, he shall have no power, seeing he hath dealt deceitfully with her. And if he hath betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. And if he do not these three unto her, then shall she go out free without money. So this is where modern readers clutch their pearls right here, family. But let me educate you on what's actually happening versus the horrors that were inflicted on our women globally during slavery. In ancient Israel, if a father fell into such poverty that he had to sell his daughter, she was sold with protections. She wasn't just a slave. She was to be betrothed, married to either the master or his son. If the master changed his mind, he had to let her be redeemed, brought back by family. He couldn't sell her to foreigners. If she was given to the master's son, she had to be treated as a daughter, not a servant. If the master took another wife, he still had to provide the first with food, clothing, and sexual rights. If he failed in any of these, she went free without having to pay anything. Now compare that to what happened to our women in slavery. You had sexual exploitation. Our women were raped systematically across the Americas, Caribbean, in Arab territories. There were no protections, no marriage rights, no redemption clauses. Slave masters bred our women like livestock. The children born from these rapes were automatically enslaved. In the American South, these were the fancy girl markets, or there were fancy girl markets, where light-skinned black girls, often daughters of rape, were sold explicitly for sexual purposes. If that does not make your blood boil, I have no idea what will. Selling them for sex. And you wonder why the nations see black women today as nothing but sexual people. People just used for sex. In Jamaica and the Caribbean, the sexual brutality was so severe that many women were worked in fields during the day and subjected to rape at night. No rest, no protection, no legal recourse. You were not a human. You were a thing, an object, to be used the way they wanted you to be used. You had no protections. In Brazil, black women were kept as concubines. Their children were denied inheritance rights despite being the master's biological offspring. Today, Brazil has the largest population, again, as I told you, of African descendants outside Africa, mostly due to rape, not marriage. Think about it, family. Millions of them out there. All due to rape, most of them. How crazy is that? Today, you got the modern sex trafficking. Black women and girls are disproportionately trafficked globally. In the U.S., black girls make up 40% of sex trafficking victims, despite being only 14% of the youth population. Look at that shit, family. It's still happening. And these motherfuckers at the top, they're the ones behind it. They ain't gonna tell you that, though. All these powerful men, they're the ones who are doing it. They're the ones who are funding it. They're the ones who are on the receiving end of it. They have whole harems full of black women kept in cages, only used to breed with, to fuck, to have their sexual fantasies. That's what it is. They all doing it. All these billionaires. They ain't gonna fucking tell you that, though. But I'm telling you, that's what they do. They can try to come after me, but the Most High got me. All of them are in it. Every last one of them. All your presidents, all of them. Your Senate, House of Representatives, all your politicians around the earth, kings and queens, they all doing it, family. But since they own everything for now, they ain't gonna tell on themselves. But don't worry, the Most High is gonna bring it to light, family, and he gonna get them. Heads gonna roll, and I can't wait to see that day. So what is the lesson here? The Most High's law, it protected women. Even in the worst economic circumstances, there were safeguards. She had to be fed, clothed, and given her conjugal rights. If any of that was violated, she walked free. Under the nations that enslaved us, our women had nothing. No protection, no rights, no voice, no freedom. They were used, abused, and discarded like trash. 1 Peter 3:7 says, "Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered." Even in the New Testament, the standard is honor and provision for the women. Deuteronomy 21:10-14. It gives the same similar protections for captive women, requiring a man to give her time to mourn, marry her properly, and if he divorces her, he cannot sell her because he has humbled her. Our women globally today, family, were humbled, brutalized, and sold anyway. That is the violation. That is what separates the law of the Most High from the lawlessness of the nations today. I pray you guys are understanding the difference here between what the Most High had for you and what these heathen have put in store today. 12-14. He that smiteth a man so that he die shall be surely put to death. And if a man lie not in wait, but Yah deliver him into his hand, then I will appoint thee a place whither he shall flee. But if a man come presumptuously upon his neighbor to slay him with guile, thou shalt take him from mine altar that he may die. So here we have the law of murder and the distinction between intentional and accidental killing. The intentional murder is the death penalty, period. No negotiations, no life imprisonment, no parole board. You kill someone on purpose, you die. These heathens are not doing that. Giving motherfuckers life, giving them life after doing brutal murders. Just giving them life, giving them a chance to live. No, off with their head. You have the accidental killing. These are cities of refuge established later in Numbers 35 and Deuteronomy 19, where the person could flee and be saved from revenge until a fair trial. Then you have premeditated murder. Even if you run to the altar of the Most High, you getting dragged off and executed. So let's talk about the murder of black people globally and the lack of justice out there today. In the United States, you got the police killings. From 2013 to 2025, family, thousands of unarmed black people have been killed by the police. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Philando Castile, Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old child, by the way, Eric Garner, the list is endless. The officers, most walk free. No death penalty, often no charges at all. Qualified immunity protects them. You had the lynchings from 1877 to 1950. Over 4,000 documented lynchings of black people occurred in America. 0 convictions in most cases. In 2025, we still don't have federal anti-lynching legislation that's worth a damn. Most High gonna get them. It's coming. In Brazil, police kill more people than anywhere else in the world. Over 6,000 annually. Whew, can you just murder us? Most of them young black men in favelas, in the hood out there. No accountability, no trials, no death penalty for the killers. Hell, they may even get promoted. They probably got a quota out there. You got to kill this many black people if you want to get promoted. Who the fuck knows? That's how evil these niggas are. But again, revenge is on the way. In the United Kingdom, deaths in police custody. Black people are twice as likely to die in custody than white people. Stephen Lawrence's murderers took decades to partially convict. Many cases like that remain unsolved or unprosecuted. Where's the justice? In South Africa, post-apartheid, black South Africans are still killed disproportionately. You have farm murders, police brutality, xenophobic attacks against other Africans. Violence continues with minimal justice. They don't give a fuck about killing us, family. They'll whine and howl if one of their own die. But it's us, nothing. Nothing. But the justice is coming. In Caribbean, Jamaica, Trinidad, Bahamas, so on and so forth. High murder rates over there. Often gang related, but also significant police killing. Justice systems are overwhelmed over there. Convictions are rare, and the death penalty, where it exists, is almost never applied. Then you got France. Police violence in the Banlieues, which is the suburbs where African immigrants live. Adama Traore, Nahel Merkou, and countless others were killed by police. Minimal accountability. You see the difference between Yah's law and man's law? The spiritual reality of this, family, is that under the Most High's law, if you murder someone, you die. There's no wiggle room, no technicalities, no paid administrative leave while they investigate. Justice was swift and certain. Right now, we live under systems where our killers walk free, sometimes get promoted, and often retire with full pensions. That's not justice, family. That is fucking mockery. And the Most High is recording it. It's going to be brutal, family. It's going to be brutal. You thought the world wars were something? Just wait until the Most High get his hands on them. There's going to be so much blood, family, you ain't going to know what to do. Bodies are going to be piled up high, looking like anthills. Genesis 9:6. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man. This is the pre-Mosaic law, meaning it's a universal principle. Murder equals death. This is what it should be around the whole earth. Not just in Israel, but around the whole earth. Numbers 35:31. Moreover, you shall take no satisfaction for the life of a murderer, which is guilty of death, but he shall be surely put to death. No money, no settlements, no civil suit payouts can replace execution for murder. None. You kill somebody, you die. I guarantee you, if that was the case today, then there would be no murder. Well, since they don't give a fuck about it, and they rarely ever give the death penalty anymore, people just go ahead and murder. I guarantee you, if there was a swift justice on murder, there would be no murders. A very substantial though, because we all know some niggas still gonna try to kill somebody anyway, keep it on the hush hush. We all know how it goes. Humans are gonna be humans. Romans 13:4. Speaking of governing authorities, for he is the minister of Yah to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of Yah, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. The sword is for execution. These governments that refuse to execute murderers of our people are not functioning as ministers of the Most High. They're functioning as lawless entities. And that's why the wrath of the Most High Yah is finna be upon these heathen nations worldwide. You're about to see an uptick in judgment, family. It's coming. Just look around. Look at your news. Look at all the crazy stuff happening. It's only gonna get worse. Verse 15, Exodus 21. And he that smiteth his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. Death penalty for striking your parents. In 2025, this sounds extreme to modern ears, but let's unpack why this law existed and what it means for us today. The parent in Israelite society represented authority, heritage, and the transmission of the law. To strike your parent was to reject the entire structure of the covenant community. It was rebellion against the Most High's order. Look at the disrespect and violence in our communities today. You got elder abuse. Black elders in America, Caribbean, UK, and Africa face increasing abuse. Physical, financial, and emotional, often from their own children or grandchildren. In the US, 1 in 10 elders experiences abuse, but it's underreported in our communities. They beating on they parents, grandparents. You got the youth violence in cities across America: Chicago, Baltimore, Detroit, Atlanta, the UK, London, Birmingham, Manchester, France, Paris, Brazil, Rio, and Sao Paulo, South Africa, Cape Town, Johannesburg. Young people are increasingly violent, including toward their own family members. You got the disrespect for the elders too. The wisdom of our elders is dismissed. We call them old-fashioned, out of touch, backwards. We don't listen to their warnings, don't honor their sacrifices, don't respect their experiences. Under the law, if a child struck a parent, it was game over. That child was executed because they demonstrated they were a threat to the entire social order. You see what happens when you don't kill these goddamn disrespectful kids? Guess what they do? It spreads. They say, oh, he get to do that? Well, I get to do it too. It spreads. But I guarantee you, if you took one of them goddamn rebel-ass black kids or whatever, and you strung his ass up, and you killed his ass, I guarantee you that would deter the other youth from behaving in such a manner. You got to make an example. But under the law of these nations, it don't matter. That's too cruel. That's too cruel. The parent represents the Most High's authority in the family. To strike them is to strike against Yah himself. So you don't do that. We already read that last week. Exodus 20 and 12. Honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. That is the first commandment with a promise. Long life in the land. Dishonor brings the opposite. Proverbs 30 and 17. The eye that mocketh the father and despiseth to obey his mother, the ravens of the valley shall pick it out, and the young eagles shall eat it. Graphic imagery for death for disrespecting parents. Leviticus 20 and 9. For everyone that curseth his father or his mother shall be surely put to death. He hath cursed his father or his mother, his blood shall be upon him. Even cursing your parents carry the death penalty. Why? Because the family unit is the foundation of the nation. Destroy the family, destroy the nation. Look at us now. Families destroyed, single parent homes, the norm, children raising children, no respect for elders, and we wonder why we can't get our shit together as a people worldwide. Logic, family. Verse 16, and he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. Kidnapping and man-stealing, death penalty. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Kidnapping someone to sell them into slavery is a capital crime under the law of the Most High. Now let's apply that to what happened to us. The transatlantic slave trade. 12.5 million of our ancestors were kidnapped from West Central and Southeast Africa. 2 million died during the Middle Passage. 10.7 arrived in the Americas and Caribbean. According to Exodus 21 and 16, every single person involved in this kidnapping operation, the African collaborators who captured us, the European and Arab slave traders who bought us, the ship captains who transported us, the plantation owners who purchased us, all of them should have been put to death. The Arab slave trade lasted over 1,300 years. An estimated 17 million black Africans were enslaved. Most men were castrated to prevent reproduction. Many were worked to death, as I told you, in the salt mines, the sugar plantation, and domestic servitude, serving them damn heathen. Same verdict, death penalty for every participant. You got the modern human trafficking today. 27.6 million people are currently enslaved worldwide, according to the ILO and Walk Free Foundation. Black women and children are disproportionately trafficked for sex and labor. In Libya today, African migrants are sold in open-air slave markets for as little as $400. They doing this today, family. Look it up. It's still going on. In the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, African domestic workers are subjected to conditions that meet the definition of fucking slavery. In Southeast Asia, African women are trafficked for prostitution. They ain't gonna tell you this though, family. In Europe and America, black children are trafficked for sex at alarming rates. Nothing being done. According to this verse, everyone involved in these operations should be executed. No trials that last decades, no light sentences, no restorative justice programs, death. So the spiritual lesson is the Most High values human freedom so highly that he made kidnapping a capital offense. The nations that built their wealth on our kidnapped bodies violated this law on a massive scale and have never been held accountable, but they will be. Same language over there in Deuteronomy 24:7. If a man be found stealing any of his brethren of the children of Israel, and maketh merchandise of him, or selleth him, then that thief shall die, and thou shalt put evil away from among you. 1 Timothy 1 and 10, Paul lists men stealers, kidnappers, slave traders, among those the law is made for, alongside murderers, whoremongers, and liars. In Revelation 18 and 13, in the judgment of Babylon the Great, the global economic system that we under today, One of her sins is trading in slaves and souls of men. So when Yah returns as Yahushua, every nation that participated in our kidnapping, enslavement, and trafficking will be judged, and beloved, the sentence is death. There's going to be a lot of dead people. Verse 17. And he that curseth his father or his mother shall surely be put to death, as I just said. We touched on this in verse 15, but it's worth repeating. Cursing your parents was a capital offense. Not just hitting them, cursing them. That means speaking evil against them, dishonoring them with your words, and wishing them harm. How many of our young people today curse their parents? Talk to them recklessly, disrespect them on social media, put their business out on the streets. All over the world, there's a growing country of disrespect toward elders. Hip-hop culture often glorifies rebellion against authority, including parental authority. Social media gives young people platforms to publicly disrespect their families. Under the law, that behavior would get you killed. Why so harsh, family? Because the family, as I told you, is the foundation of the nation. If children don't respect their parents, they won't respect anyone. No respect equals no social cohesion, equals national collapse. Look at our communities now. We've abandoned this standard, and our communities are chaotic as a result. Matthew 15:4, Yahushua himself quoted this law. Why? Because he's the one who gave it. For Yah commanded, saying, honor thy father and mother. And he that curseth father and mother, let him die the death. Yahushua didn't come to abolish the law, Christians. He upheld it. So when people say that's Old Testament, remind them that Yahushua quoted Exodus 21:17 in the New Testament. When they say the law is done away with, why the hell would he quote it then? Nigga. Verses 18 through 19. And if men strive together, and one smite another with a stone or with his fist, and he die not, but keepeth his bed, if he rise again and walk abroad upon his staff, then shall he that smote him be quit. Only he shall pay for the loss of his time, and shall cause him to be thoroughly healed. Here we have a law for non-lethal assault. If two men get into a fight, family, and one injures the other but doesn't kill him, and the injured man recovers, the one who caused the injury has to pay for lost wages, the time the man couldn't work, and have to pay for the medical treatment, ensure he is fully healed. This is basically workers' compensation, family, and personal injury law, built into the Torah 3,500 years ago. And they say the Bible isn't real. Yet these people base their laws upon this very book. And they say the Bible ain't real. God ain't real. Yet they following a law that was made 3,500 years ago. This is how you destroy the atheists out there. You tell them, why are your people following this law that was made 3 millennia ago, nigga? Explain that to me. Today we have workers' comp. If you are injured on the job, your employer, theoretically, covers the medical costs and lost wages. This is biblical law applied. Personal injury lawsuits. If someone assaults you and you are injured, you can sue for medical costs and lost income. Again, biblical law. But here's the problem, family. In our communities globally, many of these assaults happen in contexts where there is no legal recourse. Which ones are we talking about? Police brutality, for example. When police assault us and we survive, we often get no compensation. We might get a settlement years later after a lawsuit, but often we get nothing. You got prison violence, family. Black men in America, Brazilian, British, French, and South African prisons are assaulted regularly. No compensation, no medical care, no accountability. You also got street violence. In our neighborhoods, if you get jumped, shot, or stabbed and survive, good luck getting the perpetrator to pay your medical bills or lost wages. Because I guarantee you, he ain't got no money either. There is no enforcement mechanism, family, because it's not built into these laws. It's not built outside of your job. Here's a spiritual lesson, family. The law provides restitution. The guilty party has to make the victim whole. That's justice. What we have now is a broken system that leaves victims suffering while perpetrators walk free or get light sentences. Leviticus 24:19-20. And if a man cause a blemish in his neighbor, as he hath done, so shall it be done to him. Breach for breach, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, as he hath caused a blemish in a man, so it shall be done to him again. This is the principle of lex talionis, the law of retaliation, family. Proportional justice. Not excessive punishment, but equal punishment. You cause harm, you suffer equivalent harm, or you provide equivalent compensation. See, the police don't want this to happen, because if you beat us up, then guess what? If we was under this law, we will whoop your ass too. See, they wouldn't beat us if we had this in effect, because we whooped their ass up and down the street. But we don't. Because the system is broken. Verses 20-21. And if a man smite a servant or his maid with a rod, and he die under his hand, he shall be surely punished. Notwithstanding, if he continue a day or two, he shall not be punished, for he is his money. So this verse makes people uncomfortable. Oh my God. But let's deal with it honestly, family. If a master strikes his servant, and the servant dies immediately, the master is punished. Likely executed based on verse 12's principle. If the servant survives a day or two, then dies, the master is not punished because he is his money, meaning the master has already suffered financial loss by losing his investment in the servant. So remember, this is Israelite servitude, not chattel slavery. This is economic servitude with time limits, 6 years max, unless the servant chooses to stay. This is within the covenant community of our nation, not kidnapping foreigners, heathen. This is where we see the stark contrast between the law and what happened to us. Under chattel slavery in the United States, slaves were beaten regularly, often to death. The punishment for killing a slave? None in most cases. Slaves were legally considered property, not people. If you killed your own slave, it was like breaking your own furniture. No crime. How fucked is that? In the Caribbean, the brutality was even worse. Slaves were worked to death, as I told you, in sugar fields. The average lifespan, 7 years, family. Masters faced no punishment for killing slaves. All they had to do was go ask for more, and they would ship them in. And then the cycle continues. In Brazil, same brutality. Slaves were disposable. When they died, you just brought more from Africa. Arab slave trade, castration, mutilation, and murder were common. No legal protections whatsoever. In this verse, even though there is a servant-master relationship, there are limits. If you kill your servant outright, you were punished. Compare that to the absolute lawlessness of chattel slavery, where our ancestors could be murdered with zero consequences. The he is his money clause recognizes economic reality. If a servant dies, the master loses the value of that servant's labor. But it also assumes the master didn't intend to kill the servant. Otherwise, verse 20 applies. Because if the servant dies a day or two later, it's treated as accidental death from discipline that went too far, not intentional murder. Is it perfect by modern standards? No. But it's light years ahead of the zero protections our ancestors had under European and Arab slavery. Colossians 4:1 says, Masters, give unto your servants that which is just and equal, knowing that ye also have a master in heaven. Even in the New Testament, masters are commanded to treat servants justly. The nations that enslaved us violated this completely. See, they did not quote this one. They quoted Ephesians 6:5 with slaves obey your masters. But they did not quote this one here. They did not quote Colossians 4:1. They saw that verse, they're like, yeah, nah, we good on that. Verses 22-25. If men strive and hurt a woman with child, so that her fruit depart from her, and yet no mischief follow, he shall be surely punished, according as the woman's husband will lay upon him. And he shall pay as the judge has determined. And if any mischief follow, then thou shalt give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. This is the protection of pregnant women in the famous eye for an eye principle. So this is the scenario, family. If two men are fighting and they accidentally strike a pregnant woman, she goes into premature labor. If the baby is born alive and healthy, no mischief follows. The man pays a fine determined by the husband and judges. But if the baby dies or the woman is seriously injured, then mischief follows. Then lex talionis applies. Life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. So let's talk about the violence against pregnant black women globally. Look at the maternal mortality in the United States. Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than white women. Serena Williams almost died after childbirth, despite being wealthy and having access to the best health care. All women are ignored when they report pain, dismissed by doctors, and left to suffer. They're like, oh, you black, you can handle it. That's how they look towards you, family. You are nothing but property. You got violence during pregnancy. Black women experience higher rates of domestic violence during pregnancy. In many cases, the violence causes miscarriages or premature births. In Brazil, black Brazilian women face the worst maternal health outcomes in the country. Lack of access to quality care, medical racism over there, and violence contribute to high mortality rates. Doesn't matter, family. United Kingdom, black women are 4 times more likely to die in childbirth than white women over there. Medical racism, implicit bias, and inadequate care are documented factors for these high deaths. They don't give a shit about your family. South Africa, despite improvements post-apartheid, black women still face significant maternal health challenges, especially in the rural areas. In the Caribbean, maternal mortality remains high for black women due to poverty, lack of health care access, and violence. Nothing protects them. So under the law, pregnant women were protected. If someone caused harm to a pregnant woman or her unborn child, there were serious consequences. Fines if no permanent harm, death if there was. Today, all women are dying in childbirth, being abused while pregnant, and losing babies due to violence and medical negligence. And there is no accountability. The eye for eye principle ensured proportional justice. It prevented excessive punishment. You can't kill someone for breaking your tooth. But it ensured punishment fit the crime. Deuteronomy 19:21, and thine eye shall not pity, but life shall go for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. Yahushua says in Matthew 5:38 and 39, ye have heard that it hath been said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, this is a new one, that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other cheek. Now, before you think Yahushua abolished this law, understand the context. He's talking about personal offenses among brethren, not criminal justice. He's saying don't seek personal revenge for minor insults, but the judicial system still operates on proportional justice. Because Romans 13:4 confirms the government still beareth the sword for executing wrath on evil doers. The problem today is our people have been taught to turn the other cheek to systemic oppression, which was never the intent of Yah's teaching in the first place. He was talking about within your own people, your people. But they used that verse to say, hey, all people. No. 26 and 27. And if a man smite the eye of his servant, or the eye of his maid, that it perish, he shall let him go free for his eye's sake. And if he smite out his manservant's tooth, or his maidservant's tooth, he shall let him go free for his tooth's sake. Automatic freedom, family, for permanent injury. If a master strikes his servant and causes permanent damage, loses an eye, loses a tooth, the servant goes free immediately. No waiting for the 6 years, no compensation owed. Freedom. Compare this to what happened during chattel slavery, family. Slaves in the United States were branded with hot irons, whipped until their backs were shredded, had limbs amputated as punishment, were blinded, castrated, and mutilated regularly. Did they go free? Hell no. They remained enslaved until death or until slavery was abolished. In the Caribbean and Jamaica, there were documented cases of slaves having their ears cut off. Noses were slit, legs amputated. All as punishment, they remained enslaved. Same brutality in Brazil. Mutilation was common. No freedom was granted. In the Arab slave trade, I told you, castration of black male slaves was standard practice. They were permanently mutilated to prevent reproduction. Did they go free? Absolutely not. The lesson here, family, is that even in the servant-master relationship, there were protections. Permanent injury equals freedom. This shows the Most High values bodily integrity. Under the nations that enslaved us, our bodies were violated constantly with no recourse, no freedom, and no justice. Today, we still see this. Black people are beaten, tased, shot, permanently disabled by the police. Do we go free? Do we get justice? Rarely. Inmates in prison are beaten, placed in solitary confinement, which causes permanent psychological damage, denied medical care, no freedom, no justice. Black workers face higher rates of workplace injury globally and less compensation than other folks. Galatians 3:28. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither bond nor free. There is neither male nor female, for ye are all one in Christ Jesus. When we return to the law under Yahushua's reign, these distinctions will matter less because we'll all be restored to our proper place as the children of Yah. We're talking about black people. That's what this verse is about. Northern and Southern Kingdom coming back together. We are his children. We're one in him. We're the only ones with the covenant. 28-32. If an ox gore a man or a woman that they die, then the ox shall surely be stoned, and his flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall be quit. But if the ox were wont to push with his horn in time past, and it has been testified to its owner, and he hath not kept him in, but that he had killed a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, and his workers and his owner also shall be put to death. If there be laid on him a sum of money, then he shall give for the ransom of his life whatsoever is laid upon him. Whether he have gored a son or have gored a daughter, according to his judgment shall it be done unto him. If the ox shall push a manservant or a maidservant, he shall give unto their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned. So this is animal negligence law, something that we do not have in this country today. If you see all the deaths by these dogs. If an ox kills someone accidentally, first time offense, the ox is stoned and can be eaten because it shed human blood. The owner is not punished because it was unforeseen. If the ox has a history of violence, the owner was warned and he did nothing to restrain it, and it kills someone, both the ox and the owner are put to death. The exception was the victim's family can accept a ransom, financial compensation, instead of executing the owner, for that is up to their discretion. If the ox kills a servant, the owner pays 30 shekels of silver to the servant's master, and the ox is stoned. This is product liability and negligence law in 2025 today, family. Dangerous animals. If you own an animal, a pit bull, Rottweiler, or other breed with a history of aggression, and it attacks someone, you are liable. In many jurisdictions today, if your dog kills someone and you knew it was dangerous, you can be charged with manslaughter or even murder. This is biblical law in modern form. For vehicles too, if your car has faulty brakes, you've been warned, and you don't fix them and you kill someone, you are liable. Vehicular manslaughter laws apply today. In the workplace, if an employer knows equipment is dangerous, doesn't fix it, and a worker dies, the employer can be held criminally liable. This is the same principle. But here's where it connects to our people globally. The police accidents, as what they call accidents. How many times have we heard, "I fear for my life," after police killed unarmed black people? They claim it was accident, a split-second decision. But if there's a pattern, like an officer with multiple brutality complaints, and the department does nothing, then under biblical law, both the officer and the department leadership should be held accountable. Tamir Rice, the 12-year-old who was killed in Cleveland, the officer who killed him had been deemed unfit by a previous police department. Cleveland hired him anyway. On Exodus 21 and 29, Cleveland PD leadership should have been held criminally liable. Did that happen? No. Then you also got corporate negligence. In Flint, Michigan, government officials knew the water was poisoned, did nothing, and black children were permanently damaged by lead. Under biblical law, those officials should be executed. Now see how serious this shit is? You see why they don't want to go back to this? The Grenfell Tower, London 2017. 72 people, mostly black and brown, died in a fire in public housing. The government knew the building was unsafe, had been warned, did nothing. Under biblical law, those responsible should have been executed. You also have the 30 shekels for a servant. This is the same amount Judas was paid to betray Yah in Matthew 26:15. It's the price of a slave under the law. Yahushua being sold for 30 pieces of silver was a prophetic fulfillment, showing he took the place of a servant, a slave for us. (33:34). And if a man shall open a pit, or if a man shall dig a pit, and not cover it, and an ox or an ass fall therein, the owner of the pit shall make it good, and give money unto the owner of them, and the dead beast shall be his. Property damage through negligence. That's the modern term. If you dig a pit or leave one uncovered, and some animal falls in and dies, you are liable. You have to compensate the owner for the dead animal, and you keep the carcass. You gotta keep the carcass. Most I got a sense of humor, huh? Oh man, that's funny. You gotta keep it. What do they call this today, family? This is premises liability law. Examples: you got potholes. If your city doesn't fix potholes and someone's car is damaged, the city is liable. Uncovered pools. If you have a pool, don't cover it, and someone or their pet falls in and drowns, you are liable. Construction sites. If a construction company leaves hazards uncovered and someone's injured, they are liable. How does this connect to our people today, family? Because I like to always bring these to our connection. In the United States, black neighborhoods have the worst infrastructure. We got crumbling roads, broken sidewalks, contaminated water, Flint and Jackson, Mississippi. Unsafe housing. When people are injured or property is damaged, cities claim no money for repairs or compensation. In the United Kingdom, public housing in black communities is often what? Neglected. Grenfell Tower is the extreme example. But across the UK, black and immigrant communities live in substandard housing. Same way like the projects that we have over here, that we had back in the day. In South Africa, we still got townships that lack basic infrastructure. Decades after the apartheid, people fall into uncovered sewage pits, are injured by broken roads, and they live without running water. Do the government give a fuck? No. In the Caribbean, after hurricanes like Maria and Dominica in 2017, infrastructure was destroyed and slowly rebuilt, leaving communities vulnerable. They took their sweet ass time, boy. So if you create a hazard, you are responsible for the damage it causes. That is the lesson here. Governments that neglect infrastructure in black communities are violating biblical law and should be held financially and criminally liable. But they're not, because they don't follow biblical law. Deuteronomy 22:8 says the same thing. When thou buildest a new house, then thou shalt make a battlement for thy roof, that thou bring not blood upon thine house, if any man fall from thence. Even in house construction, you have to build safety features, a railing around the flat roof to prevent accidents. If you did it and someone fell and died, you were guilty of bloodshed. This is the standard Yah requires. Safety, accountability, and restitution. But they say the Most High is not fair. They say he's unfair and unjust and cruel. Look at all these protections you had. Verses 35-36. And if one man's ox hurt another, that he die, then they shall sell the live ox and divide the money of it. And the dead ox also they shall divide. Or if it be known that the ox hath used to push in time past, and his owner hath not kept him in, he shall surely pay ox for ox, and the dead beast shall be his own. Animal on animal damage. First scenario says 2 people's ox in the fight. 1 ox dies. And this is the first incident. The solution is to sell the living ox, split the money between both owners, and split the carcass of the dead ox. Both owners share the loss equally. Scenario 2. The ox that killed has a history of violence. The owner was warned, did nothing. The solution is the negligent owner pays full price for a replacement ox and keeps the dead ox, suffering total financial loss. This is shared liability versus full liability based on knowledge and negligence today. Examples of this: car accidents. If 2 cars collide and both drivers were equally at fault, insurance splits the damages. But if one driver knew their brakes were bad and didn't fix them, they are fully liable. Same thing for dog fights. If 2 dogs get into a fight and one kills the other, and neither dog had a history of aggression, the owners might share the loss. But if one owner knew their dog was aggressive and didn't control it, then they are fully liable. How does this connect to us? How can I bring this to us? Well, let's see. When black communities are harmed by government or corporate negligence, the pattern of negligence should make them fully liable, not partially. As I told you about the lead poisoning in Flint, Baltimore, Chicago, governments knew the water, paint, was poisoned. Did nothing. They should be fully liable. Pay for all medical costs, all damages, all future care. But they don't, because they don't want to do that, because they don't give a fuck about you. Same thing with police brutality. Departments with patterns of abuse should be fully liable for damages, not allowed to settle for pennies while admitting no wrongdoing. That boils me. Settling all that bullshit. So the lesson is that knowledge determines liability. If you know something is dangerous and you do nothing, you bear full responsibility for the consequences. James 4:17 says, therefore to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. Knowing the right thing and refusing to do it is sin. In legal terms, it's negligence and deserves full punishment. So bringing this home, Exodus 21 is not some ancient, irrelevant text. It's a mirror showing you who you were, a people with a sophisticated legal system that protected the vulnerable, punished the wicked, and required accountability at every level. They call us savages, but look at this. Look at what we had here. They call us savages. But we had a law. We had laws before they even had anything. It's another mirror showing you who you are now, a scattered, oppressed, brutalized people living under lawless systems that violate every principle in this chapter. But it also mirrors who you're going to be. When Yahushua returns, these laws will be reestablished globally. The nations that violated them will be judged, and Israel will finally have justice for all the wrongdoing that has happened to us over the centuries and the millennia. Every verse we examined had a modern application, family. You had servitude laws, protection of women, murder laws, honor of parents, kidnapping laws, assault laws, negligence laws, all over the world. Our people need to hear this. We've been taught that the law is done away with, that we just need to have faith and forgive. That's all about grace. Bullshit. The law is eternal. Yahushua didn't abolish it. He fulfilled it and will enforce it at his return. Grace covers our past violations when we repent, but it doesn't erase the standard. Right now, we are living under the curses of Deuteronomy 28 as a nation of people because we abandoned this law. We are slaves in every nation. Our children are taken from us. We're the tail and not the head, and we're oppressed with no deliverer. But there is hope, family. Return to the law. Return to Yah. Return to your identity. Stop calling yourself African American, Afro-Caribbean, Black British, Afro-Latino. You are Israel. Your ancestors are Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not some African tribe, though many Africans joined themselves to us throughout history. But when Yahushua returns, every knee will bow. The nations that enslaved you will be judged. We're going to take them captive. The wealth they stole will be returned. The land they took will be restored back to us. But until that day, we got to wake up. We got to study the law. We got to teach our children. We got to gather together and stop begging these nations for justice they will never give you willingly. The law is your heritage. The law is your weapon. The law is your future. Exodus 21 is just one chapter. There are 612 more commandments waiting to rebuild your mind, your family, your community, and eventually your nation. Until then, family, shalom, hallelujah, Yahushua King, and we going home, family. So listen to this as many times as you need to get what the lesson is trying to tell you. I pray you guys had a good Sabbath. Y'all willing, I will be back. I will be back next week to do Exodus chapter 22. Until then, family, I love you. Be safe. Stay on this narrow path. Because the kingdom coming, family. But we must endure. Shalom.
Hey, tribe, I'm ready, bro. Israel walk. Yeah. You say you ain't truthful, brother, where your feet at? You the truth of that slack walk. How you a teacher? We know where your class at, cause you posted on broadcast. You not awake and we know you just act that. We know you backslide. Pull up with scrolls for real, my brother, young man, you better go ask that. Hebrew lessons with laws and commandments, teaching truth at your feedback. I had to come down to assembly, I really got spiritual, somebody go ask round. All over the nation, ain't need no permission, cause Torah's the call, we don't back down. For my people, I strive, study out, in the truth and all with the facts out. Living righteous, took the mask out, see my fringes in dark with the light out. Jerusalem chain is a god now, hit the books with the try cause the times now. Last day season, get them right now. Being lost epidemic, they like how. No wisdom, no nothing, they like wow. Ain't see this truth coming, got sight now. Kingdom me and Israel on sight now. Step back with that word, teach it lights out. Got some knowledge, go give what I like now. Might go build me a school in the right town. Park a scroll in the study, let truth down. Put the nations on notice, on like doubt. I ain't doing no plan, I don't like clowning. Pull up in the truth like I'm set apart. Man, I'ma pull up in the truth like I'm set apart, man. And I'm a Hebrew for life, man, you know. Israel walk, man. Hey. Hey, Torah got that truth. Put some wisdom in youth and go add it up. I'ma give them a reason, be glad with us. Pull up in assembly with ancient texts. I ain't come by myself, it's a lot of us. Ain't no cap in my walk, brother, lie for what? Try to mix with the nations, try for what? Came straight from the people who died for us. I'ma take them to school, I'ma guide the flock. I'ma send in the truth like I'm Moses now. Stand firm on these laws, don't apply the pressure, cause our nation's up. That don't make us better. You can't slip on these laws, it's a royal standard. They said, give me a reason, I'll give you several. Pour deep in the heart just to beat the devil. Scripture come with the power like it was special. If you're willing to learn, I'll give you lessons. I walk in light like I'm heaven blessed. I be all in the word, I don't sleep never. My lift up to the heights when I hit these verses. You can't mess with this wisdom, two different measures. You can do what I do, but I do it better. And they say they won't smoke, give that nation pressure. Nations come here to fight, we gon' understand it. Hit that word with that fire like we cooking lessons. Hey, Hebrew soldier, ran through these scrolls trying to get it from the ancient ways. Truth flowing out, bring it back in. This real life ain't none of this truth, no acting. Ain't no plan, no faction. Walk too hard, don't stand too close to this passion. Came by the truth, don't ask me. I done got love in the kingdom, so I walk with the kingdom. And it's up with the kingdom, cause I'm back. Hebrew soldier, ran through these scrolls trying to get it from the ancient ways. Truth flowing out, bring it back in. This real life ain't none of this truth, no acting. Ain't no playing, no faction. Walk too hard, don't stand too close to this passion. Came by the truth, don't ask me. I done got love in the kingdom, so I walk with the kingdom. And it's up with the kingdom, cause I'm back in it. Israel walk. Israel walk. Torah got that truth, y'all. Hey, 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 hey. And it's still tribe life, no fake life. you praise with truth still is dangerous. Rest in peace, ancestors.